Well, first of all, in 1798, when Adams pretty much drafted Washington to become the general of this new provisional army, Washington was 66 years old, quite infirm. We know from the Gilbert Stuart photo, as far as Gilbert Stuart paintings, of just a few years earlier that Washington had become a stiff and craggy person. He had aged considerably. He doesn't, when you look at the famous standing portrait, Washington doesn't look like somebody who would go out and take the battlefield as the general. And I think that he realized that probably this was physically beyond him. Also, George Washington's entire life, even every time he returns to his beloved Mount Vernon, there's another crisis, and he's pulled back into the maelstrom. And so I think that what he does in that situation, Washington never felt that he could say no to the call of his country in a situation like that. On the other hand, he clearly didn't relish it. And so what he did, understandably, is said to himself, okay, I'm going to accept this, but I'm going to define it in a minimal way rather than a kind of maximalist way. 20 years before, he would have defined it in the maximalist way. Now he's defining it in the minimalist way. And so he lays down this stipulation that he does not want to actually become the commander in the field until the war has actually started. Okay, think of that, until the war has actually started. It means, I think the Provisional Army was going to be about 10,000 men. So who was going to recruit and train and equip this entire army? It would have to be someone extraordinarily capable to do it. And Washington was not prepared to do that himself. He was prepared to, as it were, it was sort of like the batter who comes up, the pinch hitter with bases loaded with 2 outs in the ninth. He was ready to do that, but a lot of the hard work of actually forging an army would be done by the number 2, the so-called Inspector General. And that was Hamilton. And Hamilton, he just felt that Hamilton was more capable of doing that than Henry Knox. Hamilton actually had probably a more rounded sense of an army. Remember, Knox had been head of artillery. Hamilton was aide-de-camp, was Washington's military secretary. But if you look at a lot of those Revolutionary War councils, Hamilton was there. He was colonel, but the other 10 people in the room were generals. So he was in on all the major strategy discussions. I think also being on Washington's staff, Hamilton had a kind of nuts and bolts sense, because he was involved with all the correspondence with the Congress in terms of all of the kind of commissary and quartermaster matters of creating an army, feeding them, clothing them, housing them, all of this, training them, which I don't know that Knox would have had that. And there have kind of been other things that happened with Henry Knox that would have made Washington and also Hamilton reluctant to bring him back. But, so Hamilton becomes the Inspector General. Hamilton becomes Major General. People don't realize that Alexander Hamilton ended up Major General, but of course it was, as we all know, waving a red flag in front of President Adams. And the result was explosive and unfortunate all around. But Washington must have been relieved that he never actually had to come out. Just one last thing on that point. In their letters about a possible war with France, which I took seriously, I actually took seriously the idea of a French invasion, and they discussed what form it would take. And they felt that when the French landed, it wouldn't be like the British strategy where you occupy a few coastal cities. That would be very rapid and very mobile, and they would start to invade the interior. And they would need a fast-moving army in response. And Washington didn't feel that he had the reflexes at that age in order to be the general for that kind of fast-moving campaign. I think it probably would have, even physically beyond his capacity.